Welcome to John Woo's Season. We'll be reviewing 7 films he directed in Hong Kong during the 80s and early 90s. We're kicking things off with a movie about a group of hired mercenaries transporting a kingpin across hostile country. Join us for Hero Shed No Tears. Welcome everyone to the Collector's Cut. I am Peter, and joining me as always is David.
I don't have a quote ready for this one, but just imagine the sound of an explosion.
I suppose if, all these movies we're going to be doing this season are all going to be in Cantonese, I suspect getting quotes. I mean, you could just say what was in the subtitles, I suppose, but it doesn't quite have the same ring to it.
Right, exactly. I gotta hope. I gotta wait for a line to really speak to me to be able to do it. But I feel like explosion noise is also equally valid for John Woo.
Yes. Welcome everyone. This is a movie podcast, and we are kicking off today John Woo Hong Kong action season. Because John Woo's had a long career, of course, and he's done movies in the US. He's went back to Hong Kong and China to do other movies. He's done some historical epics in recent years, I believe. But we're looking kind of at his, I think people would probably say his golden era in a lot of ways. Because, the movie we're doing today is not his first movie. In fact, he did several movies before this, but for a couple of different reasons, we're not doing any of those. One is because they're not all necessarily action movies like the rest of the season is, but the second reason is actually just availability. Like, a lot of those movies that he did before this one aren't readily available in the West with English subtitles and so on and so on. It just made sense that we're going to do his sort of golden period, and it's going to take us all the way up to Hard Boiled, which is maybe his most famous movie, at least before he went to the US and started making movies there anyway. So we've got A Better Tomorrow planned, we've got the Killer planned, we've got all these different movies planned, but today we're starting off with 1984's Heroes Shed No Tears. So that's what we're going to talk about. We'll start spoiler free as we always do. We'll give you a warning before we get to the spoilers, and if you're enjoying the show on YouTube, do hit the like button on there. It helps us out a bunch if you do, and you can support us over at Patreon and get some bonus stuff, but I'll tell you more about that at the end of the episode. So outside of Mission Impossible 2, what was your experience with John Woo going into this season, David?
That would be the movie Face Off, and that is the extent of the career.
Yes, don't worry. There'll be a time and place for a few of the American John Woo movies down the line. Maybe not a season dedicated to him, but we definitely do want to do 90s action seasons and stuff, and I feel like those will sprinkle in there just nicely. So,
look, all I know is that I went into this movie, and I have been sorely disappointed by the lack of doves. I needed some doves.
And there was no doves in this movie, I'm sorry to say.
Yeah.
This is he hadn't discovered doves yet, right? Yeah. I promise you that by the time we get to the end of this season, we will see some goddamn doves, but
I cannot wait.
But we're not there yet. We're kind of in this weird territory of him. He's finding his voice as a director, you might say, here. So the basic premise of this one is that a team of mercenaries is hired to capture a drug lord. It's the Thai government that hire them. They capture him, I think, in Laos, but they have to go through Vietnam to get to where they're going, because it's all in the Golden Triangle.
Yes. Look, they explain it one time up top in an exposition dump, and I'm like, okay, I'll try to remember that.
Yeah, honestly, it's not that important. They capture bad guy. They have to travel with bad guy, and the bad guy's team are hunting them the entire time. And they may also encounter some other bad people along the way as well. Action ensues. There's your premise. To be frank, there's not a lot of story and plot in this one, and it doesn't take a lot of time setting things up. It just starts. I swear, we start our first action scene so quickly into this movie after the titles. It's absurdly quick. So
I'm pretty sure they say exposition dump, it fades out, and then you're getting the lock and stock scene of all the clips and everything. I'm like, oh, okay, guess this is just happening. Not
even the car ride here, doing some character building before we get to their first. No, we're just
not a thing.
We're just going to start straight off with this. All right, they've already got, because I almost foolishly assumed that when they said in that opening narration that was explaining the premise of the movie, they've been sent to Thailand, or they've been sent from Thailand to get this guy in the Golden Triangle. I was like, oh, the movie's going to build up to them finding him. And the opening scene's them getting him, and I'm like, oh, okay, all right, we're just there already. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I've seen that type of movie before, where like, you know, the what you would think would be the main plot is actually just really condensed at the beginning, and then it's all about the fallout from it. But for the life of me, I can't think of any other examples at the moment.
Yeah, but that's the basic gist of it. There's lots of explosions, there's lots of action, and all sorts. But we'll get into our feelings. So we'll start off simply with, David, what did you think of Heroes Shed No Tears?
So, I was unaware that John Woo did have kind of a career before this, at least some movies before this. The way you were pitching the season to me, I thought we were just starting at the beginning of his career. I thought this was the first of his films.
While you talk, I'm going to count the movies he did before this just to hit you a number. Right. But you keep going.
Fair enough. But because of that, I was going into this with the mindset of, okay, it's going to be rough. It's going to have some problems where he's finding his voice, and it's not going to be as polished as I would have liked. I'm willing to accept that, and I'm going in with it. Because of going in with that mindset, I was very pleasantly surprised by this one. I think that it does a lot in the beginning that is just nonstop action. Sometimes it goes into weird tonal differences where it just does comedy bits for a while, but the action just keeps on returning. But over the course of the movie, especially as we get to know our main character of, I believe it's Chung, I love his character development. I love the way that the characters are played with here, and that main core plot of just trying to get him and I don't know if we're spoiling, but other people out as well.
We're not spoiling it. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if that counts as a spoiler, but other people out as well.
I mean, I think to vaguely say some other people along the way end up in the group is not saying too much. This was his 13th movie.
Okay, so yeah, he kind of knew what he was doing there. Fair enough.
He did a couple of shorts, which I didn't count in that number, just at the end of the 60s, presumably when he was like maybe a student or whatever. And then he started to get his first directing movie in 1974. So he'd been directing movies for 10 years when this came out. But, you know, this is kind of the run-up to his... You know, and it's not even like the next movie we're doing is his very next movie either, right? Again, there's stuff in between here that's maybe not as available or whatever. Right. But yeah. So I mean, my feelings on the movie is that it's a little uneven. I think the first like half hour or so is like, it's basically not got a plot, right? It's not going to be a great movie in that sense. But the first half hour are insanely entertaining and full of just batshit action moments and like over the top bits and oddly little dark moments kind of sprinkled in, where it's not like, this movie is not afraid to put people who like are supposed to be the sympathetic ones in the position of danger. It's not not afraid of just having them be killed off at a moment's notice with no like anticipation. Yep. So I kind of love that craziness to it. It was kind of on this weird sort of lay where it's like, it almost kind of feels like something that we might do on extra reels, except that the actual quality of direction and the budget for the action is so much higher that it feels like really high quality. And I'm like, okay, I can kind of get on board with that. I do think once it hits the middle of the movie, though, I think the pacing starts to get a bit weird when it starts to like take these timed outs to do weird like interstitial bits where it feels like there's not a lot of like flow in and flow out of them. I think the back half's a bit more uneven as well in terms of just the build and non-stop nature of it is kind of gone from that first chunk. And I get that you can keep that up the entire time, but it did kind of feel like the characters are only so developed. In fact, most of them are basically like barely characters. Yeah. Right. I don't think there's very little to them by and large for the most part. And
they're actually more tropes than characters.
Yeah. And honestly, even the main guy, Chung, I didn't really like, you know, he's the leader. He's the one who like wants to protect his family and whatever. But honestly, there's not a lot to him either. It's pretty, and that was fine. Like I was fine with that in the first half hour because the pacing, the craziness was so consistent that I was just having a good time. The back half of the movie, it definitely felt like, okay, we're kind of slowing down. We're doing little pockets of things. There's definitely a section where like he meets like an old friend who lives somewhere, and I felt that section dragged the crap out of me, where I was just kind of like, we're just doing some weird love scenes for 10 minutes for no reason other than just because some TNA.
Yeah, so I will say, just from very minor research on this, it does seem that this movie was made in 1984, but it didn't get released until 86 after Better Tomorrow started doing well. And on top of that, there were a lot of studio, not interference, but, the studio cut. They came in and they did some editing and they changed it to make it a bit more publicly available. And one of the things that was pointed to was essentially that entire scene with the American friend and like just full stopping for some TNA and drug stuff. It was just there to make it more marketable to a larger audience.
Yeah, it feels so out of place. It feels like, why are we doing this? And the pacing just grinds to a halt for it. So, so I think during the first half hour, I was like, oh, this is kind of awesome. Like, I'm never going to like give it the highest marks, but I'm having a great time. And then the back half, I was kind of like, okay, it's kind of showing its like faults, and it's like, I do wonder though to see like the original cut maybe with that some of that stuff like taken out might have been interesting to just see how much it improves from a pacing perspective. But
from what I gather, every foreign market has gotten this cut. The only time the original cut has been there is in Hong Kong, and I don't know how widely spread that even was.
Yeah, I don't think it's like a huge difference runtime wise, admittedly, because I think the original cut, just because when I googled the runtime before I watched it, I was just curious because I wanted to know how much time I needed to watch it. It said 80 minutes, and then when I actually sat down to watch it, it was like 87 minutes. So I'm like, I'm wondering if that 7-minute difference is what we're talking about here.
From what I gather, it's a trade-off between a bit of exposition at the beginning to explain more about Chung and like his setup and backstory. That was kind of taken away, and then they added in the TNA stuff later on.
Yeah, I gotta say, that might have been the better thing to keep. Some more backstory for him, to be honest.
Yeah, probably. But I still think that Chung's character, as much as it is uneven, and I fully agree with that, I do think that by the time that we hit 2/3 of the way in, give or take, I am invested in him and the things he wants to protect. Like, I want him to succeed in his goal. Whereas I think in the beginning of the movie, like, yeah, I want the little crew here to succeed in their mission, but I'm also just looking at the big explosions, and I'm not really caring who's making them.
Yeah, I don't think I ever really got to that point where I was invested on a character level. Beyond just, like, he's supposed to be the main character. He's supposed to care about this character and that character and so on. I don't think I ever got past that. And I don't really mind that I didn't get past that. Like I say, like, I was enjoying it on other levels, even without that feeling. But when that stuff waned a little bit, or like stopped being as like consistently exciting in the back half, it meant that, oh, there's nothing else to fall back on here, and I'm just kind of waiting for the more fun stuff to start back up. So yeah, it's barely got a story. It's barely got a story or a plot. It's just kind of group of characters are traveling with this prisoner, and villainous groups try and like grab him at every chance they get, leading to lots of action scenes that need very little setup. Sometimes it feels like we just end up in locations and like there's just a new group of people to like come after them just so we could have another action sequence. There's a charm to that. Like, I'm not necessarily mad at it, but at the same time, you can't ever say, oh, there's like such a well thought out story here where everything completely makes sense and so on. No. Admittedly, some of the things that I think don't make sense, maybe that was explained in that cut backstory stuff, because I do have a couple of real specific questions about things that do relate to that main character, which we'll get into in spoilers. But
okay. I feel like I don't have that many questions relating to the main character, but yeah, a lot of the extraneous group stuff, all the different like bad groups that are approaching them.
Yeah.
For me, it feels like they did one scene for each of these groups to say, and here's why they're willing to just march into droves, dying by the thousands in order to kill this guy. And I'm like, I don't think you explained that quite well enough to justify all of the deaths.
I think that is very fair. And the group itself, there's definitely a couple of members that are pretty interchangeable, right? There's like a guy that is like the gambler, and I remember him fairly well. And there's a guy with a headband who cooks a steak, but there's also another guy that has very similar hair who doesn't really have a gimmick. He's just kind of the other guy that looks similar to him, and he's there as well. And then there's a couple of other ones that die really early, so I don't really have anything to say about them, but they were there and they died early. So
look, I'll be honest with you. I remember 4 members of the crew. If there were other members, they are not in my memory anymore.
There was like 7, I think, at the start, like in the opening sequence. Yeah, I think.
Oh, that's right. There was one. I remember the one that got like the really long, drawn out death in the opening sequence. But
yes,
yeah, everyone else just poof, gone. Nothing to them.
Yeah, not much to say about it. Yeah, there's one. Yeah, no, I remember how. Yeah, I remember. Okay, I don't want to spoil anything, but I remember how someone else dies. So we can talk about that. But yeah. I will say, surprisingly, because I don't think this is going to be true for the rest of these movies, even though I own the rest of these movies we're going to do, like in 4K. Like, you know, part of the reason why we're doing this season is because I bought a bundle of movies last year of Hong Kong movies, and I'm like, oh, a lot of these fit into a season. Oh, I'm penciling that in. This wasn't one of them. This is one I had to track down separately, and this has got a really good 5.1 remix track where they put the effort in to make a 5.1 mix, and it sounds good. Like there's a lot of oomph to all the explosions and stuff, which obviously wouldn't have been there originally. This would have been stereo back in the day when it first was mixed. So and you know, there's definitely like an argument about like, do you have the authentic like a good version of the original mix, which in this case would be stereo, or do you have the 5.1 that's like modern and redone? It's nice to have both as the option. And I don't mind if it doesn't have the 5.1 remix, because I'm like, well, it's just the authentic version, so I can, you know, I'll just go with it. But I was listening to this and going, damn, I'm going to kind of miss like all this oomph from all these explosions in the later movies we're going to do this season, because these are good.
Yeah.
But
no, hey. I mean, I of course don't have the 5.1, but I was watching on headphones, and let me tell you, the man knows how to stage an explosion. Like. I'm happy. It's almost beneficial in a way that this movie doesn't have to stop to explain plot that much, because like, as long as I could tell a character is yelling, then I know that they're in harm's way, and I can just let the bullet noises and explosion sounds fill in all the background. Yeah. Like it doesn't need much more than that.
It also has maybe some of the most guilty examples of like 15 men are all aiming their machine guns at one character, and yet somehow they all miss constantly.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that going on.
That's fair. I mean, and then on the counterpoint side, the hero throws a grenade loosely in the area of some enemies, and everyone in the next mile gets knocked down.
Yeah, it's like you see the blast in the middle, but they're trying to pretend there's a shockwave where people who are like, 10 feet away are still jumping. Which, to be fair, it looks good because they all do it in unison, and there's at least one shot in the movie where one of the guys who sort of flipped after the grenade landed in like a sort of wet bit of grass, so you could sort of splash that was unexpected because it wasn't obviously like water, and I was like, that looked quite good, even,
There was one, I don't know why it caught my attention, but as the guy was flying back, I think he kicked up a thing of like matted grass, like it was all part of a clump or whatever, and like it blew up, and then it came back down a little bit slower than everything else from the explosion, and it just felt like there was some extra rubble going on because of that.
I think this is getting to this idea of what John Woo's style is. It doesn't matter how much it makes sense. What matters is if it looks good on camera, and that's very much what we're talking about here. We're talking about things looking good on camera, regardless of the realities of how the explosion would work, or how the gunshots would work, or so on and so on.
Absolutely. There's so many. I mean, it's super spoilery, but like one of the very last things that happens in the third act fight, like, it's so bonkers and so off the wall of like, this is never how this would happen, but by God, did it look good.
Yeah. And, I don't want to sound too negative when I'm giving my critiques, because effectively what I'm saying is that this started off and I thought it was hitting the absolute ceiling of what it was, which is not a great movie for all the obvious reasons, but the absolute pinnacle of the good, dumb action movie that it could be. But then the second half it wavered, so I'm kind of more into it's decent kind of range where, like, there's a lot of things to enjoy in here, but it doesn't keep it up, so I can't wholeheartedly say it's a must-see if you like, this type of action movie.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the first half hour is just non-stop, keeps going, doesn't let down for anything, but then half an hour in, it takes its first quote-unquote break, and at that point, it's either you're up for it or you're not. Like, it's gonna be something that's you're okay with the kind of character development they're doing during this break, and you like taking this time, or it lets you down how it's not just keeping up this sort of larger action, and yeah, at that point, it's going to be hit or miss the whole rest of the way through.
Yep. But as for anything else goes, I don't really have too much to say. I will say the HD transfer that I was watching of this looked really nice.
Yeah, same.
So that's cool that they've kept it in nice condition. But
the only other thing, and again, just IMDb trivia, could be wrong, but apparently the shooting style back in the day of wherever they were filming, Thailand or Vietnam or whatever, Hong Kong, was to not use explosive squibs when it came down to like little dirt patches in the ground of like bullets hitting the ground or whatever. They just marked it with some chalk and then had a sniper off frame actually shoot the ground, to which the main actor apparently caught a ricochet and he still has like a scar on his chest from it.
I mean, grain of salt and all that, but let's assume this is all true. This might be one of the reasons why they stopped doing this practice over time.
I'd hope so. I would definitely hope so. That seems insane to me because, like, as soon as I read that, I looked back over at the screen because I was reading it mid-movie. I looked back over at the screen and I saw, like, a main character, like, army crawling with little squibs going up all around him on all sides. And I'm like, my guy, you're actually being shot at.
Yeah, I feel like it moves in a way the sniper's not expecting or something. Like, game over. Yeah, that's
I'd have to assume that maybe they're like rubber bullets or something, same impact, but not as deadly, but still.
You would hope so that they're less lethal than regular bullets, but still going to hurt a shit ton though if it gets everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh dear, what's all these bruising on your back? The sniper was having a day at work.
My God, it looks like you've been shot up. Yeah, I was an extra for 3 minutes.
Oh dear. So yeah, I think we'll give the spoiler warning so we can just start talking about the movie. Now, admittedly, there's not a whole lot of plot to spoil in this one, but obviously there's the action moments. There's like some of the bigger, like fun, like set piece moments to mention. So, so you've been warned. Spoilers for Heroes Shed No Tears from this point on. Yeah, I will say I think it'll be tough to actually go entirely in order in this one. I feel like we're just going to cherry pick things we want to talk about. And the reason for that is that part of not having that much of a story or plot is that it's very, very easy to not remember the order of a lot of the things that happen.
I guess the easiest way I think to do it would be listing off the 3 major groups that are chasing them down.
Okay, sure.
And maybe we just focus on each of those as we remember what they do.
Well, the first group obviously is the Kingpin's actual men, right? So the whole opening sequence of the movie is them, our main group assaulting their base and like killing numerous of their henchmen in the process. And ultimately they do get the Kingpin. They put like a weird little it's like thumb handcuffs. It just goes around his thumbs.
I saw that and I was like, boy, that looks dumb. Turns out it's a real thing. Like, it's much easier to carry around than normal handcuffs, so fair enough.
Yeah, it wasn't them being quirky, it was something that just existed, which, fair enough. So it's like, okay, they've got him, and they do actually lose one man in the way out of the compound. One guy gets shot, and there's it's like, there's a whole moment where like, oh, let's go back and get him to crawl to the Jeep, but he's like, his legs are blown to shit. Like, he got like several gunshots to the legs. He is like unable to move.
He's out. Absolutely. I also love, I'm pretty sure that they say like, oh, hey, like, keep crawling. You can make it over here. And then he gets shot like 50 more times. And they're like, all right, well, we got to bounce. Which
admittedly was darkly pretty funny. I have to admit.
I thought that this first half hour was so bombastic, so over the top. I thought we were going for dark comedy. Like, I thought this was the sort of thing of, oh, this violence is so over the top that you're meant to laugh. But as the rest of the movie progressed and we got actual like emotional moments, I'm like, I think it was just so over the top and it was like just supposed to be sold that way. I don't think it was a joke.
Yeah, man, maybe that's partly why I don't think the back half's as fun, because it's not as funny. The first half is really funny in places. Yeah. There's that. And so obviously all these men who are neatly color-coded, they're all wearing black, right? So we have this first group that are all the Kingpin's men, all wearing black, and they're chasing, and we get a couple of action scenes early on where they're kind of chasing after them and there's some gunshots and what, but they're driving in a Jeep. The one big conflict that happens though, is that somehow the Kingpin's men know that the leader of our group, Chung, that his family, and by family I mean his sister and his son, as well as I assume his father.
Father-in-law?
No, father.
Just straight father?
Well, yeah, because it's his sister.
Is it? I thought that was the wife's sister. The wife that we have never seen before.
Oh, okay. Well, it was the kid's aunt. That was just why I assumed sister. So I guess it could be father-in-law. If this is the sister on the mother's side.
Yeah. My only thing is that if it were his father, when, spoiler, he dies, there is no moment where he gives a shit about this guy. Like, he's just like, whatever, he's dead, moving on.
Yeah. But for some reason, they're living nearby, right? Because they go to their place, they go to pick them up, and they're living nearby. And I cannot fathom, this is the big question I have, is why are they here when this is supposed to be a mission? And they say multiple times, our main character is Chinese. He's from Hong Kong, and he's been sent in with this other group of Chinese to go do this mission. Why are his Chinese family living here near where the Kingpin is?
You know, I never actually thought about it. Fair enough. I got no answers for you.
Yeah, I mean, of course you don't. Why would you? So maybe some of the cut backstory explained why he had his family here, but regardless...
because my initial explanation is like, oh, maybe this is just the base that they set up to like prep at and like do all that stuff. But then I'm like, why would you bring your 8-year-old son?
Yes.
That part doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make any sense. And also, why does the bad guy's men know that his family's here? Because they show up first. Like they kill the dad, the old man, and then like the sister gets shot for the first time in this movie because it happens multiple times.
She's a trooper.
She takes a lot of hits in this movie, and the kid's like hiding and whatever. And when Chung comes in on his own, like the others just wait out by the Jeep. Like the son basically kind of like gives them like this look to suggest bad guys. There's bad guys.
I really like that bit where there's just this unspoken language, and you can see it's just like all from them flexing their eyes, like they like raise and like close their eyelids, and that's enough to explain this like idea to get out of this, which is I'm gonna drop the gun and then you bite this guy and then I'm gonna turn around and like stab all of them with the knife they haven't taken yet,
but also catch the gun before it hits the floor.
Yes, exactly. It's over the top, it's insane, but I like this tiny bit of characterization where I was kind of getting a lone wolf and cub sort of thing between these two. Like this is just this kind of unspoken connection where they both know the score. They both know like here's what we're gonna have to do in order to survive, and they just do it.
Yeah, because obviously after he kills most of the guys, they're about to leave and they hear a creak, and this again they do this silent thing where the kid's just looking at him to suggest, oh, down under the floorboards he's waiting, because this is like a raised house, like a hut. So yeah, and he pulls a little move to like shoot the guy downstairs. But it's like, okay, it's weird how good this kid is at helping kill bad guys, but he is for now.
Here's the thing about the kid. I think the kid is great in this first bit.
In the first half, first half he's great. The second half, he gets so many other people killed with his bullshit.
Exactly. Like, come on, man. We can't... You almost had a movie where the kid was not responsible for the deaths of literally everybody, and then just, oops, here we go, running out in the middle of gunfire.
In fact, one of the first things that happens after this, right? So they get away, right? They've basically saved the day, other than the sister having... I'm just going to call the sister for... quickness, right? But she took like a bullet in the shoulder or whatever. Not serious, but she got hit. Other than that, fine. Well, other than the old man dying, I guess. But like
the movie doesn't care. Whatever.
So they go riding for a bit. They sort of stop and rest in like a mountain kind of area, and there's not too much here other than the like two of the guys on the team are like sort of like the gamblers try to like bet the guy who's cooking a steak because he's like the only good food that anyone has because he doesn't want to eat the plain rice. And it's like a whole little bit.
It's a whole little bit of like, yeah, okay, this guy's a gambler, and then they do whatever, and like he ends up eating the steak from the other guy, and then he's like, yeah, I skinned that off of a human being's ass, and that's the punchline of the scene is it's human flesh, and I'm like, that's dark as hell.
Yeah, I don't know if he was being serious though, if he was just saying that to ruin his steak. Like now that he got it from.
You never get the react. This
No.
seems like the character that the moment he spits it out is the moment he go, ha ha, gotcha. But we never see that shot.
Yeah. I suppose you could read that out. Maybe in the original Cantonese it's more obvious, like if he's just joking or not. But regardless, in the subtitle,
seems to take it seriously.
Yeah. But the thing here is, so they rest for a bit, they regroup, and eventually they see like, oh, the bad guy, the Kingpin's men coming, right? So they've got the Kingpin with them, of course, right? Their main group, and he's been dropping his little like Buddha like necklace things, yeah, into the ground to leave a trail. And his men are coming. They're like, oh, they're almost here. Let's go. They all run to the Jeep, and then the kid says, "Dad, I need to pee." And he's like, okay, go be quick. And I'm like, what do you mean be quick? There's men with guns coming up there. Like, this is a hold it for 5 minutes, you little shit.
It's especially weird because it doesn't result in anything. Like, he pees, he comes back, and they just drive off. Like, there isn't an issue where now they're pinned down in a firefight. Like, he just needed to pee.
No consequence whatsoever, but it's really weird to let him, like, yeah, go be quick, son, go pee. I'm like, there's an armed militia coming up the hill at you, and you're risking the chance of a firefight because your kid needs to pee. Not only that, you're leaving him on his own because he's run off to a tree to pee.
Yeah, now is not the time for privacy. Look, just aim over the edge of the Jeep and let's go.
Aim it back at the bad guys, right? Maybe you'll get them in the eye.
Exactly.
Oh, however, the bit I'm really excited to talk about is the introduction of our second group, right? So they get to the border to Vietnam. They're going to go through Vietnam. And we get this little introduction scene of like this, like the general at the border patrol. But we see him shaving, and he puts on his sunglasses, and he's really proper. He seems to take care of his appearance. And there's a whole bit here where a car comes up to the border. It actually crashes a little bit, and they treat them as hostile, right? And inside the car, it turns out there's a maybe a Chinese guy, maybe I don't know, maybe I misheard what nationality it was, but there was an Asian man driving the car. And then there's a French man and a French woman who are, I think, journalists or something to that effect.
Reporters to some extent, yeah.
And like they're sort of yelling and they're saying, "Hey, please, we're French, blah blah blah." Like we didn't mean anything. But they just take the driver to the side of the road and someone cuts off his head with a sword. And I'm like, okay, all right, these guys mean business. And then they put a gun in the French guy's mouth. They pull the trigger, but it doesn't go off, and they just laugh at him. But then they shoot him anyway, like a second later. And then the entire swarm of like this border patrol, like probably like a good 8 men, all start grabbing at the French woman and start ripping her top off. It's like really oddly dark all of a sudden. And you cut back to our main group who have stopped a little bit down the road because they knew they were coming up to the border, and they're seeing and hearing this. And they're like, shit, should we do something? And one of the guys is getting ready to get his gun ready. And the main guy, Chung's like, no, we stay out of this. And it's only because the son, the 8-year-old son, looks at him and goes, Dad, and just looks at him like, no, you're going to save her.
Determined look.
Yeah. Like, you have to save her. And it leads to this great bit where she's able to like run out the car. And she's like running down the road, it's all scared, and this villain, right? He's on IMDb. He's just listed as Vietnamese officer, so we'll just call him the officer. The officer,
he puts him as a colonel, but yeah, we can say officer.
Sure, but the officer pulls out a sniper rifle. He's got a scope, and he's looking down his scope. He's going to kill her in the back as she's running away, and she's running towards where we know our heroes are. So we get this shot, look at like this POV going through the scope. And she obviously sees something and ducks down, and it reveals that her main man Chung is standing there with a handgun, and he fires the handgun, and his aim is so good that the bullet goes through the scope of the sniper rifle and takes out the officer's eye, and he is on the ground holding his eye, and there's blood squirting and all sorts.
I really want to be clear for the audience, like we're moving through this at a brisk pace, but all of these things of storming the place, having this like car crash, this cool shot here, and then the fight that happens afterwards, this has all been 20 minutes. Like, it's been non-stop the whole time of just bang, boom, next thing.
And this moment was very much the, like, oh, there's going to be this kind of movie with this sort of shit, where, like, there's no way he could hit that shot down the scope at that distance. No way. But he does. And
Yeah, absolutely.
it's you know, it was like, oh shit, I started laughing, it was amazing, and I'm like, okay. And they've basically created arguably the main villain. He's honestly more of a villain than anyone else in the movie, this officer guy, because he gets such a vendetta where he gets like a bandage over his eye, and it's like, oh, now he's the one-eyed officer coming after the main guy. He's just purely out of revenge. They don't care about the Kingpin at all. He just wants revenge.
I love the way his character keeps coming up later in the movie, because there's this recurring motif of, obviously, because it's only been like 4 hours, his eye is still bothering him. Like,
yes.
it doesn't stop. But they do this thing where he keeps on replacing the bandages and they keep on bleeding through. And then by the time we hit like the end of the movie, it seems like he doesn't have any more bandages to replace it with. So it just gets more bloody and disgusting. And you get this growth of him as a more desperate character as we move further and deeper in the movie, both visually and through the story.
You know, hospitals exist for a reason, is my...
Not out on the battlefront. It's all whatever you got on you.
So this is our second group. It's all the uniformed Vietnamese border patrol, effectively, who are now the second group hunting down our main group. And then the third group, which gets introduced not too long after, is basically the officer and his men go to like a tribe, and they actually like execute a couple of the tribe members, and they say, you guys are good trackers. And it's this tribe that lives in the woods, and they're like, you're going to help us track down these men and kill them, or we'll basically just murder your whole families, and we'll do evil stuff. So our third group is reluctant, but they are kind of in for the ride, at least for a lot of the movie.
Yeah, they have to at the very least protect their own people. And that's, you know, you pick that up through the way that they are a lot less militaristic. They're very much more tribal, but you can tell from, I think it's probably the next encounter that we have with them, where our main guy has seemingly the main tracker at gunpoint, and he just doesn't finish the job. I think he it's not like he has a moment of conscience. He just gets distracted by his kid, and the tracker's like, oh, okay, cool. He's a good guy. And you feel that develop over the course of the movie.
Yeah, and they get a lot of fun stuff with them where like they're all hiding in the water when they're going through like a sort of like kind of swampy area, and they all sort of pop out at the same time. So you get some cool shots of like the way they sort of pop out. But like some of this stuff, like again, this idea that they're not afraid to put like obviously the kid being like kidnapped and like held for like, you know, ransom or as a hostage is a very normal thing to happen in an action movie. I don't think though, like the way this movie jumps to the officer saying, oh, surround him in gasoline in this like wheat field and set it on fire and hopefully kill him. Now he happens to survive, but like this is actually just like, no, he wants to murder his child. He wants to murder the child to get back at the main character.
It's the sort of thing where it's like, you know, in all the other action movies where it's like, okay, well, obviously they're not going to kill the kid, but they do still have that sequence of taking him hostage and like holding the gun to him or whatever. It's the thing where you're shouting at the TV of just like, you're leaving this opportunity open, Mr. Villain. Like, you're being an idiot. Why are you being an idiot? It sells this guy all the more that he's like, nah, kill him. My whole point is to make this guy suffer. Number one thing, I'm going to kill his kid. Like, yeah, that makes sense. And he does it effectively. It's not like, I think the only thing he probably could have done more intelligently is actually get some gasoline on the kid. But that's it. Like, that's the only thing.
Yeah, because they kind of, and this is maybe a critique you could make, is they kind of just kind of disperse after that to let like the main characters come and find them. So it's not like, it feels like they're not as relentlessly pursuing them. It's like they almost think, oh, we'll take a break after that, give them a chance to get away. So you can make some nitpicks.
That's the James Bond, like, well, you're trapped in this shark tank. I guess I'll just leave the room and assume you're dead. Goodbye.
Yeah, so I mean, some of that stuff is fun, and this is kind of like wrapping up almost that half hour of just non-stop craziness. And yeah, and so the French woman's with them now, and you know, credited on IMDb as French girl, which is you know, sure, very
informative.
Yeah. So she's kind of with the group for like the rest of the movie, but it's never really like, I assumed she was going to become more of a main character, and like, you know, she'd be like a vessel for like exposition because she'd ask them questions or, you know, whatever.
Yeah. Like she could be, if she's the reporter, if she's like talking about like, you know, oh, because look, we never get a good explanation as for why did their car crash into this army base thing. Like, it just peels in out of nowhere, crashes into their fence, and then they get the shit kicked out of them. But I'm assuming that they're here to cover this military skiff. Like, they came here for the purpose of coming in and seeing, like, oh, this war going on or whatever like that. So I assume she would be providing backstory on our main officer villain guy, but I don't think she says more than 2 words for the rest of the movie.
She is just a red shirt. She's just there to be another person, possibly, who is like needing to be protected, like someone we can feel bad for when she dies, and that's kind of it. And I'd almost be kind of really critical of the movie and say that all of the female characters are kind of like that, because they are. I guess the only thing I could say otherwise, though, in counterpoint to that, is that most of the men are really forgettable and have barely any character either. They just happen to be badasses with guns, which is inherently not as weak looking, but other than that, they're just as thin.
We did have, once we get to the American, he's got, I don't know, multiple wives, I assume, and all of them.
Yeah, he's got 3 women, and they're just there to get naked. And
true, but when a full-scale attack starts, they've got their guns. Like, they are out shooting as well. And then, obviously, the sister manages to hold her own and do a few badass things throughout. So, I think that in terms of male to female, it stays pretty even.
Yeah, again, but only because, like, they're both poorly developed, not because one is overdeveloped and the other's underdeveloped.
No, definitely not. But yeah, at this half an hour point here, he finds his son buried himself in the dirt to protect him from the fire, and then they reunite. And then we make our way to a little tribal village.
Well, it's weird because
stop for a while.
It feels like the group kind of split up because we kind of follow different characters doing different things. So the gambler gets like a little short section to himself where he's gambling in this little game with the others in this village. And all it is just rolling dice, and whoever gets the highest number wins. It's not really that much of a game, to be honest. But basically, there's this guy, like a local villager, who's got a gambling problem, who bets his own wife and loses his wife in a game. And then our gambler character comes in from the group and is like, I'll win your wife back for you. I'll play. And he starts just winning by rolling 12s, because he was rolling 2 dice, so he's just rolling 12s over and over again. And the chief of the village likes gambling, so he's like, oh, I've heard about you, I've come out, we're going to play. And he has guns pointed at him the entire time. Like, the village chief is like, no, pointing guns at him, make him play. And they play a few times, and the village chief loses. He's like, okay, you've got all my money, here's my gold Buddha statue, I'll give you that now if you win.
Here's our religious icon for our entire village. Whoops, I lost that one.
Here's a giant machine gun, which is the main defense we have in our village. You can have that if you win. But he's also pointing it straight at him. And honestly, at least in the subtitles, it made it sound like our gambler character thought that if he wins, he'd get shot, because he says, please let me lose this one. But I actually thought it'd be the opposite. I thought he'd get shot if he loses. But I mean,
no, because the gist of it is right before the machine gun one, he tries to hand back all the money. He's like, look, let's call it even. You don't shoot me and I'll give you back your stuff. And they say, no. It's what, bad luck, disrespectful, dishonorable, whatever they use to say, here it is back. We have to win it back in a fair thing. However, the counterpoint to that is, if you win, we're going to take your life. Like, no matter what happens here, we're getting our stuff back, is how it's going to play out. And he's hoping he could just lose and walk away with his life at the very least.
His solution ends up being to just drop a grenade and roll away, blowing up everyone there.
Well, his solution is he tries rolling, he gets another 12, and he's like, all right, click, I'm out.
And meanwhile, the one who was cooking the steak earlier with the headband, he's like going around and pillaging dead bodies in the forest and taking all their gold, their money. But then some other guys show up from another group, and he plays dead. He sort of lies under a dead body and puts blood in his face. And there's a legitimately funny comedy bit here where one of these guys from this other group stumbles across his bag, and it's got gold watches and money in it, and he tries to pick it up, but our guy playing dead is holding on to it, and he doesn't want to let go. So there's a little moment where he's playing tug of war with what he thinks is a dead body, and I actually thought that was quite funny, until of course he pulls out a machete to chop off his hand, and then that's when of course he just lets go of the bag to let him fall back.
But then as he goes and picks up the stuff falling out of the bag, he picks up a machine gun and blasts the guy in the ass. And he's like,
right in the ass.
Yeah.
Well. But that alerts the other men and then leads to him running away. And when he gets...
Now, hold on.
Oh, yeah.
Stop right there. Because all of that, everything we just described in this village was all comedy.
Yes.
And it's been like 10, 15 minutes. It has been a significantly downtime comedy beat.
So it's kind of surprising when like 4 of the tribal people just like rise up out of the grass and all spear the headband guy, and he dies here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like
brutal. Yeah. It's a brutal scene.
Yeah, it's out of nowhere. It just kind of happens, and it's like, oh, I guess he's dead. All right, time to lose another one.
The gambler guy's like, hold on, I'll try to get it out of you. I'll try to get the spears out. They're all got like harpoon tips, so they're all hooked. They won't come back out. And then I think it's implied it's Chung, but I swear to God it's the other guy, the one that doesn't have any personality. He shows up and he just machine guns headband guy because he's in pain and suffering. And it's like, look, I had to put him down. Like he would have suffered a lot more otherwise.
Yeah, that was for the best. So, and then basically after that, we just sort of go back onto our main quest. Like it's okay, we've done a little side mission in the village. We can move on from here. And
the gambler guy does like get really emotional for a second, and like tries to lash out at Chung, like, oh, you killed him, it's all your fault. But then at the moment, literally the frame that they see other people approaching, it's like, well, we're all bygones, let's move on.
Yeah, there's also a scene maybe a little bit later, maybe it's around here, where the Kingpin's men and the officer's men sort of like encounter each other, and the officer's like, hey, we both want the same thing, let's work together until you get your man back and I get to kill the guy that took my eye. He's like, yes, that's mutually beneficial, let's shake hands on it. So they've kind of teamed up at some point.
Yeah, that's just after we get introduced to the American guy, who is literally the next bit. So,
yeah, which to be fair, I think is the weakest thing in the movie is this American guy. The whole movie just kind of like, it's like, okay, we encounter him in a hut. So so again, another person that Chung happens to know that just lives out here, like on the path of this mission, and he's wearing like a bomb vest, right? He's got all these explosives on him. But then it's like Chung recognizes him, and he's like, wait a minute, Chung, is that you? And we get like a sepia tone flashback to whatever war they were both in, and. Like they're, basically all the scars that Chung's got on his back that we saw earlier that his son was looking at, he got them here, like diving to protect the American during this combat scenario. So it was like, okay, they're close, they were in war together, but this is where the movie just grinds to a halt. And I swear, out of nowhere, the gambler's kind of on guard duty outside, and a woman just appears with a gun, and it's like she's like thinking that he's hostile, but then he just starts flirting with her, and then we almost just smash cut to her giving him a bath and like rubbing bubbles all over him, and then they have sex.
I like the characterization that they got in the village because it was played up for the idea of, oh, it's a comedy beat, whatever like that. Yeah. I think it grinded the movie to a halt, but for their character's sake, I think it did a lot.
It was still entertaining. Like the village stuff was still entertaining though, because it was still like the whole gambling thing had a funny quality to it. The other guy playing dead and like shooting the guy in the ass. There was like things to enjoy, even if it was different than the action stuff from earlier. It was still kind of doing weird stuff. Here, it just kind of felt like it went into like really typical territory, but also in a way that made no sense, because it's like, wait, you're just going to have sex? You just met each other and like that's just it? You just
No, it's triple weird, because yes, we lead to this weird simultaneous like bath scrubbing / sex scene. Yeah. And then we cut to a sequence of the American and a couple of like his groupies or whatever, and the French woman, all smoking weed, and they offer it up to the bad guy who's like, I never do drugs, and everyone laughs. And then we get another orgy scene of the American and all of his wives again. And only then do we return back to, oh, right, there are bad guys chasing us. Yeah. Maybe we should get back to that.
But I really want to stress how long the bubble scene is.
It takes forever. Yeah.
It's a long scene because like he's just lying there on like his front, and she's like sort of soaking bubbles all over herself. I actually laughed at one point because it cuts to a wide shot. This is before she lies on top of him. And it's when he's lying face down, so she sort of lies on his back, right? So it's kind of weird, but whatever. But when it goes to the wide shot where she gets into that position, like, I love how expertly they made sure there was a blob of bubbles right above her ass crack to hide that, because it was so perfectly placed. And I'm like, I can just only imagine the effort that went into making sure that this was hiding all of the key parts.
I appreciate the fact that, based off of IMDb trivia, this was forced upon John Woo. He didn't want to have this sequence, and yet he still had the eye for like, well, if we're going to do it, we're going to be classy, god damn it.
So, yeah, like, and then, she's lying on top of his back, but then he turns over, and they clearly start having sex, and that goes on for a little bit. And then, like you said, after we get to the next sex scene, it's the American just kissing, like, 3 different women, and it's maybe sensual, I guess, but it just goes on, and I'm like, we do not care about this character. He's just been introduced. Like, not that I really care about that much about any of the characters, really, but this guy especially just feels shoehorned in, like, here in this last, like, chunk. And it's like, okay.
It felt like they were trying to do the, I hope I get his name right, but the Dylan, you son of a bitch moment. Like, they were trying to do that, but it just didn't work. Like, because this guy, we have nothing to latch onto, no character traits, nothing at all. He's just, oh yeah, the American.
This does predate Predator by a few years, though, just for the record.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. It felt like, I think the scene where gambling guy meets the woman outside and starts saying, "Oh, you're from there. Oh, women from there are so pretty."
Province in Thailand or something.
That scene until the end of the Americans like foursome scene, it has to be like at least 10 minutes, if not 15 minutes of just absolute fluff.
I mean, I can check. I've got it pulled up here. Let's see.
Go on.
All right, runs into the girl at the 52:30 mark, and end of the foursome is 58 minutes exactly. So,
it's not as long as I thought.
Yeah, 5.5 minutes.
It felt longer, though, honestly.
Oh, no, it feels so long because it is, like, again, a grinding halt. We are literally, right before this happens, we get the thing of, all right, the 2 villain sides have teamed up and they're going to storm this place and it's all going to be an attack. But first, I guess we'll just spend the night enjoying each other. Like, they won't attack in the night or anything, right? That'd be silly.
Yeah, there's rules to this, apparently.
There's rules to jungle warfare, god damn it.
But of course, they do show up the next morning, these 2 groups together, and they want to storm the place. And again, the sister gets shot again, like this time in the side. She's still kicking, though. Like, she's still surviving, but she does get shot again. I thought, God, how many times are you going to get shot? But yeah, it's basically just like...
At least one more.
Yeah, we'll get to it. But like, yeah, they just like... It turns into an action sequence which... that has its moments, but none of it's ever as good as the stuff in the first half hour, which is kind of the biggest sin of it, is like, okay, this is okay, but it's not as good as anything that happened earlier.
I honestly thought, just based off of how much time was left in the movie, that this was going to be just a balls to the wall, half-hour long, like, here's the entire third act. Because they also set this place up to show that it is teeming with explosives. Like, every wall is practically made out of explosives. And I was like, okay, this is what has to blow up at the end. Like, all the other explosions have been nothing compared to the small nuclear device that this is going to result in. And it kinda is, but the action sequence does come to a full stop and moving on to other things before we get back to that. So, yeah, this is kind of just its own separate thing, but the main purpose of which is to trim down these extraneous characters that we've picked up.
Yeah, one of the you call them the wives, I don't know if they're wives, but one of the Americans' women dies early on. Gambling guy does go down here as well. He has, and this is the one where the kid's like the one at fault, because the kid in the middle of everything decides to leave the gambler and like the auntie and the other like women that are there, and
his dad is across the battlefield and he's like, "Daddy!" He
just starts running, saying, "I'm going to go get my dad," and like the gambling guy has to run after him, and he's not got his reload clip yet, so he ends up just finding himself stranded in front of a firing squad and gets obliterated, and then. The other guy, the one that's not much personality, who was left from earlier, he ends up like holding his body and saying, "Wake up, you can't be dead," and he's like firing into the bad guys as he's holding his dead friend, and then obviously he is going to end up dying here as well. So I mean, this really cuts down on a lot of the riffraff.
He doesn't die during this scene. He actually manages to survive here.
Oh, you're right, because he ends up in like the area with the barrels where the final thing takes place. That's right.
I will say during the sequence, we have Chung come up and he's like, oh, you got to set him down. You got to get out of here, do whatever. And that's where, an emotional beat where he takes a shot to the back. But I love in the background, you can see like the remainders of the Americans' wives and like, I think the French woman at this point as well. All of them are locked, loaded, and they're the explanation as to why these three can just stand there and talk with their backs to the army because they're the ones providing cover fire.
Yeah, actually, I think the French woman might have been dead by now, because I feel like someone just stumbles into her just hanging up somewhere, as if she was maybe captured at some point.
Yeah, so it's not, but that is after, because it's only once Chung is gone.
Right, okay.
That's when that happens.
Yeah, because Chung gets shot in the back, which is also his son's fault, technically, because he's dealing with the aftermath of the other stuff. So he's like, hey, I'm going to stay back, and I'll hit this plunger to blow everything up. The explosion doesn't seem to like actually get any of the bad guys, really. It feels like it just kind of happens.
There's an outer perimeter of barbed wire and a bunch of explosives, and that's what the plunger was hooked up to. So he waits until they're trying to mount the outer perimeter. He blows it up, but it's an army. It's the Vietnamese army. So as soon as that first wave is gone, more just walk in. It doesn't do anything to stop them. However, it does lead to, I think it's almost immediately after this scene, oh, no, sorry. It's after Chung later on gets away. The Vietnamese general basically turns back to his army, and they're just like, dude, like 200 of us have died because of your trying to get revenge on this guy. We're out. Yeah, we're done.
And the officer just shoots him point blank, and the others run away. So because they realize that he's all mad. Also, the Kingpin's men also abandoned him in the middle of all this because they didn't like that they were just firing at the house that their Kingpin was in. It's like, no, our boss is in there. Stop firing all your explosives at him. And it's like, well, yeah, obviously, that alliance was never long for this world.
Yeah. So they bail out, but they're also used in the third, like the final scene.
Yeah. So. Yeah, the officers got Chung. His men don't abandon him yet. It's after Chung gets away that they all abandon him because they're like, oh, we're done chasing him. But Chung gets strung up, and it's like, oh, you're going to... Also, he gets like stitches like all the way up and down, like under and above his eyes.
I think it's to imply like his eyelids are sewn open, like he's not allowed to blink anymore. And Jesus Christ, the visual of that. They do a damn good job of it.
Yeah. And when the others do get away to this sort of area by the river, right, and they're sort of holed up there, the son decides that he's going to go back and try and save his dad.
Yeah.
So the American starts chasing after the son, and this actually leads to, like, basically find out that Chung's still alive. And the kid actually sets off a distraction because he goes to one of the Americans' huts that's still rigged with explosives, and he basically gets the fuse lit. And so it distracts the officer and all his men. They all go looking to see what the explosion is, and he's able to get his dad down, and they sort of run off into the bushes or whatever and get to the water so they can get away. And it leads to a scene where the son's having to pull out all these stitches that are keeping his eyes open.
Yeah. It's again, this is the point. Like, I've already, when the son goes to rescue him, I'm like, yeah, all right, great. This sequence here is just doubling down of, I think that these two characters have been developed fully as characters, and I am all the while hoping that they are going to make it through.
See, that's the thing. When the son went back to rescue him, well, I like it from like a, oh, this is stupid, like I'm enjoying it kind of level. I did think it was stupid. I did think, oh, really, someone stop the kid. He's 8 years old. How he can't save his father from a military like group. What are we doing here?
It's stupid that the kid is here at all. But if we're going to accept that, I'm going to accept that he can save his dad by untying a rope.
All right. But regardless, it's pretty gnarly stuff. However, the Kingpin's men do get to the remaining group, right? And there's a whole scene here where the American uses his bomb vest. So I thought, oh, he's going to go in and save his lady friends because like, the two lady friends that are still alive have been like sort of strung up against posts. And I thought, oh, he's going to go in and save them because he cares about them. Instead, he runs up to them and sets off his bomb and takes them all out together. I'm like, oh, you can die with me, my loves. Boom.
That is the sequence I was talking about. It's so over the top, but like, I love it. Like, it's so crazy and stupid because it's like, okay. So the entire sequence is, they're pinned down. They're stuck amongst some like flammable barrels, combustible barrels. And the American, when he left to go check on Chung's kid, strapped a bomb vest to the Kingpin. Right, and they gave the personality-free guy the trigger and said, if he tries to run, blow this up. And that caused the Kingpin to tell all his guys, hey, stop shooting. These people are crazy and they will kill all of us. Like, we'll all go up. So it gives them a moment of reprieve. But the other girls, the ones that were with the American, they were already taken hostage. They were tied up. They were beaten, abused. And I guess when the American comes back and he sees that, he's like, they don't deserve to live like this. And he just, before the conversation with Chung is even done about what to do, he lights the suicide vest and he's like, get out of here, Chung, I'm going in. And it's so beautifully insane.
Yeah, but it's also pointless in a way, because I feel like he barely takes out any bad guys. It feels like it's almost just localized to him and the girls.
Oh, no, that's the thing. The explosion is so small that it does nothing inherently. However, it leads to the Rube Goldberg of it ignites some loose gasoline that was on the ground that then starts blowing up random oil barrels. And then the whole thing ends up going up.
Honestly, my favorite moment, arguably, during this final section is when it's Chung's now got the detonator, right? Because the other guy dies around here. And Chung's got the detonator for the bomb that's strapped to the Kingpin. And he's going to maybe set it off, and the Kingpin tries to, when he's not looking, take off the bomb, and he throws it up into the air, but Chung notices it, and what I love about this is he sets it off when the Kingpin's just thrown it into the air, and it's maybe, give me a second, it's a few feet above from him, right? Do you know what I loved about this? I love how just delightfully awkward it is. It's not this neat distance from him or anything like that. I love how weird and just it's 3 feet away from his face, and you can kind of it's a good looking practical stunt or effect, because you kind of see the body of whoever it is reacting to it and going down, and I mean you see him on the ground, he's got burn marks all down that one side of him, the back and whatnot.
I just need to clear up, because I think this is where the character shines, is that Chung is sitting there with the detonator. He's debating, he's like, all of this chaos, all of my friends dead and all that, because of you, because of all this stuff of trying to get you out. And he's debating doing it. But I don't think we ever even mentioned the whole point, the whole reason he's on this squad to begin with is because the Thai government is offering him a green card for him and his kid to go to America. They're going to get out of this war-torn country and they're going to be able to start a new life elsewhere. So he's like, I shouldn't do it. I need to bring you to justice or whatever. And as the guy is throwing off the thing, the sister is the one whose hand comes in and ka-chunks it down. And she's like, nah, screw this guy.
She's had enough. She's had enough of this asshole.
Yeah. But I love the fact that it brings that character full circle, because her previous thing as they were waiting it out was like, wait, we shouldn't kill him yet. We need to wait it out. We need to see if that's the right move. Yeah. And in that moment, she's like, it's the right move.
Yeah, I still think the characters are paper thin, so I don't know if I got as much satisfaction out of that choice, to be honest. Right. For me, I just love the physical awkwardness of it going off when it's 2 feet away from him. He's not wearing it, but it's not far enough away to not be a problem, and so it's just this really awkward blast to the side of his face. I like that a lot.
It's a way to keep him alive, but now keep him essentially not a threat. He's not going to run. He's not able to move. He is disabilitated for now.
Just to come full circle with the idea that this movie will kill off anyone who's supposed to be innocent or sympathetic, is there's a heart-to-heart between our main character Chung and the sister character, where he's like, I wanted to give you a better life in another country, and they kind of hug, and he's like, hey, you need to be a mother to my son. Basically Chung's kind of thinking that he's not going to make it out of this, and he's like, hey, you need to raise him, you need to be a good mom. And just as they're hugging, gunshot to her back right in the middle, so she's definitely dead, and she falls to the ground, and of course it's the officer with his eye patch or his bandage kind of soaked in blood, and this is where our final fight, where these two are going to just throw punches and try and kill each other until eventually he gets impaled on it's like a bit of a tree trunk or something that's sitting there.
It's literally to say it is a spoiler, never mind. It's a thing from another movie.
Yes, very good. But the actual fight between them is good, because they're both at this point really injured and hurt, so they're very kind of down in their luck, but it feels very visceral, because they both want to kill each other really badly.
I love the shot when the fight scene first starts, because he has the kid. The general has the kid, and you get this, I'll call it shaky cam, because I don't think it's not, where we're following behind Chung as he's trying to storm up and just take this guy out from like a good 30 feet away. The general's taking shots and Chung gets clipped and like the camera falls down with him. And it's such a visceral shot where I'm like, I don't feel like I saw this thing again until the mid 2000s where like everything was shaky cam all the time.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's well shot. Like, that's the thing. Like, even though I was feeling a lot more mixed on like a lot of the plot, or well, not much plot, but like a lot of the events taking place in the back half of the movie. Like the final fight does look good and it's well choreographed. You know, and it's not afraid to do these kind of awkward little, like the bomb vest going off like so close to his face. There was a bit earlier, I think it's when the officer is like threatening the tribe and saying you need to work for us now. He does like a sort of, or maybe he has his man do it, but like they do like a gunshot where they intentionally graze like the tribal guy's head, so he doesn't shoot him in the head, but it has it go past his head, so there's blood coming down the side of his face. And I'm like, damn, that's kind of really threatening. Like to do that, like that's insanely threatening. So I mean the fight, you know, it's good, and I love though before he gets impaled though, I love that Chung gets a really, really clean, straight punch to the other eye that's good, but you see blood squirting out of it to imply that he's probably just lost the other eye, and then he falls back onto the tree trunk thing and dies.
Yeah, no, it's a slow-mo brutal shot where it's the fountain of blood effect. Yeah. It's just, and then he falls down on the trunk. It's such a good shot.
Yeah, and so he goes over to the raft with his kid on the river, and that's when the tribes show up and they walk over and he's like, oh no, if I get one more like group of people to fight. And I think it's very obvious that the tribe guy is going to just undo the anchor or whatever you want to call it and be like, you know, bye Chinese man, and he just gives him a wave. And it's like, oh yeah, they weren't bad guys, they were being forced into this, so they just sort of let him go on his way.
I mean, now that the colonel's dead, it's especially like, okay, the threat to our tribe is no longer here. Have fun. Sorry we did all that. And
the credits start rolling immediately once they're going down the river.
It does feel like they try to do a little poignant thing right at the end of the Kingpin talking to Chung, and it's just like, you know, everything you just went through, all of that stuff, like, yeah, I'll do some jail time, but then it's all going back to normal. Like, you lost all of that stuff, and what impact did you really make?
Yeah, your family, your friends, all that. Yeah.
It feels like they were trying to make a point of like, you know, war never changes sort of thing. But I feel like they could have just done a single shot of Chung looking over at his son, and that would have been enough to like really sell the moment. But instead, the trackers come in, and I'm like, all right, well, I guess we're just leaving that on an emo note of, yeah, I guess that was for nothing. Whoops.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could argue, well, he's still going to get his green card. He can still move to a new country with his son. Like, that'll still be something he can do because of this. But yeah, the bad guy, the Kingpin that they're still, you know, dragging like across to a new country, like, he's not going to get the comeuppance he probably deserves. He's going to do, you know, again, like you said, be out in a few years, and it's not going to be that big a deal for him ultimately.
There was also a conversation somewhere before all the tits and ass and stuff, which was the American talking to Chung saying like, hey, do you know what it's like in America?
He's like, not so great, buddy. I don't know if it's all it's cracked up to be.
I know you're picturing this is going to be this fresh new start for you and your son, but I really got to let you know it ain't going to be so hot. You got to be willing to accept that things might be bad for a while, no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that the opening like exposition dump from the narrator kind of like set up for me was that it kind of implied that the entire team that was going after the Kingpin, that they were all like, you know, because it's like how they all signed up for different reasons. You know, one signed up for money, one signed up for ideals, one signed up for blah blah blah, and it made me think that they didn't know each other. It made me think they were all volunteers that didn't actually know each other. But once you actually see them all together, it does kind of feel like at least some of them seem like they're friends and have been friends from before.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I know that it came out afterwards, but it does remind me a lot of like the Predator sort of setup, where it's like, okay, how much do these guys know each other such? How much are they just kind of forced together by needs of the mission sort of thing?
Well, on Predator, they definitely all know each other. The whole thing is that they've been a team for years, and like they all trust each other.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. But like this one, like you said, the intro makes it sound like this isn't they may have known each other, but it wasn't a team. it was a thing where like each of them had to be approached individually of like, here's what we'll give you to do this thing. And then they all signed on for different reasons.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's it never elaborates in any way, shape, or form why this guy is so bad, or like everything is very thin as to like the motivations are said at the start like that, but it's like it never really goes into much. I mean, you assume the gambling guy needs to pay off a bunch of debt probably, but other than that, it's very much just like, we gave you reasons, that's it, accept them and move on. Like it's not going to matter or affect their characters for the rest of the movie. It does not matter.
Nah. As long as you understand the idea of the green card for Chung and his family, I think that's the one that like, why does he keep pushing? It's not a selfish reason. It is an idealistic, for the sake of my family sort of thing.
Yes. It's the Fast and the Furious. Motivation.
Absolutely.
Yes, for family.
For family. Familia.
All right, David, what are you giving Hero Shed No Tears out of 10?
You know what? I preface this by saying I was ready for some iffy qualities, some growing pains. I think once we're done talking about it, I'm even more fond of it than I was before we started talking about it. And I was already pretty fond of it then. So collectively, I think this one's going to get up to like a 7.5 for me. I think I may be completely throwing off my rating scale for the rest of the season, but I just had a fun time with this one. The black comedy moments were working for me. By the time we got into the emotional bits, it wasn't always completely going, but for the most part it did. And it was just a fun time to look at as well. The stunts, the pyrotechnics, all of it worked out. So yeah, 7.5.
Yeah, I think I'm naturally going to be a little bit lower. I think I'm a little more critical of like the pacing problems in the back half and just not quite feeling the emotional side of it, which I wish I did. Like, because I was like that first half hour, I was like, okay, if this can keep up this, it might like actually get to like an 8. If it is just this relentlessly entertaining and like doing whale things like the sniper scope moment and stuff. But then it had some halts and I'm like, okay, it's maybe dipping a little bit. And I think, while I liked the final fight, it was so inconsistent in that back half that I think I'm probably landing on a upper decent, and by upper decent I mean 6.5. Right? If 6 is decent, 7 is good, 8 is great, I'm going to say this is like halfway between decent and good.
Okay.
Which is to say, there's a lot of things in here I like. I think it would be an easy thing to rewatch. Certainly easy to sort of put on another screen and like do some other stuff and whatnot.
If it weren't for the entire thing being in Cantonese, yes, I'd love to be able to hear what they're saying. Well,
you can pick English, and I'm not saying I'd watch this the first way, but once you've seen the movie and you know which parts you want to pay attention to, you can be like, all right, the American part starting, I'm going to look over here for the next 15 minutes.
I'm going to run down to the post office,
do some
taxis. Get my groceries, whatever.
But yeah, not bad though, and certainly if we're comparing it to the only other John Woo movie we've done on Collector's Cut, this was much better than Mission Impossible 2.
Oh God, yes, absolutely.
Right? Like a movie that had far too much stupid plot versus this movie that arguably doesn't have enough plot.
we were doing the ratings rundown by that point. We both gave the story in that one a 2 out of 10. Yeah. You know what? Now that I say that, obviously Hard Boiled is regarded as good, and that's kind of what we're building up to. But seeing how after this point, after this run, we're getting Face Off and then Mission Impossible 2, I'm not looking forward to when we have to come back to John Woo, because I don't feel like he's going to be at a similar caliber.
Well, I there's some movies in the 90s that I'm looking forward to talking about from John Woo when he hit the US. Particularly Broken Arrow, Hard Target, Face Off. Like I think, and it's not so much that I necessarily remember liking all of those, but I think they're all going to be interesting at the very least.
Oh yeah, trust me, I've seen Face Off at least 3 times. Interesting.
But I think this there's maybe like a sweet spot where we needed a bit more story and plot than this one actually had, but Mission Impossible 2 was far too like contrived and over the top, and there was too much stuff trying to be cool and sound interesting, and it was just kind of a mess. Keeping it somewhat simple, I think, actually might be the better choice for John Woo's style. But having said that, I've not seen most of the rest of the movies we're doing this season. Some of them might be quite complex. I have no idea. but we'll find out.
Guess we'll find out. Yeah.
Next time,
in terms of making the cut.
Oh yeah, we should do that first. Good point.
Yes.
I would say kind of close for this one.
I figured that's where you were going to land. I'll agree. I think that I can see enough of the problems, and I am fully aware that I just had fun with it, and that's not a good enough reason to say making the cut.
Yeah.
So
plus, I think ideally, and this might not be the case, there might be one or two of these that we end up not liking very much, but ideally, I'm hoping this is the low point of the season.
Yeah, here's hoping.
That's what I'm hoping. Now, whether or not that's how it actually feels once we get to a couple of these movies, I don't know. But that's the hope. But speaking of, next time, we mentioned it earlier, but next time we are looking at A Better Tomorrow from 1986, so 2 years later, and we'll be looking at that next week. So join us for that. That one's got a lot of a bit more like clout and buzz compared to, I think, Heroes Shed No Tears. So we'll see how that one pans out. But that is next time on Collector's Cut. You can, of course, subscribe, but mainly what I want to promote here is Patreon and YouTube memberships. You can support us, help keep the show coming, as well as all the other shows and Mail Fuzz movies like The Ace, which we also do, the Atomic Cinema Experiment. That's where we do sci-fi movies. But you get bonus ratings rundown segments for both of those shows, including this one, and you also get a monthly bonus show called Extra Reels, where we review some of the worst movies of all time. Something that Mission Impossible 2 would have been a good fit for, except the fact that it was in the middle of a franchise, which, is not eligible.
Can't really break that up.
Yeah. Because it'll be a couple of weeks out by the time this goes out, but Mortal Kombat 2 is about to come out, and I still think at some point we will do a Mortal Kombat season to do those movies, but it was pointed out to me at least one of those is definitely Extra Reels worthy, and it is, but you're not going to just do one on Extra Reels and then go back and do the others on Collector's Cut. It has to all be on the season.
We're for the people. We're not going to hide some critical knowledge behind a paywall.
Oh dear. But at least in that case, the Extra Reels one is the one that I am absolutely the most excited to watch and talk about, so I don't mind. But support on Patreon. Thanks to everyone who already does. It really does make a difference. So like I said, Better Tomorrow is next week on the show. Over on Ace, we just did Mercy.
Great pitch. I'm sure they're all rushing to go see it.
If you want to hear us yell about a bad movie, you can check out that. But yeah, that is the show. That is Collector's Cut. Thank you very much for joining us, everyone. We do appreciate it. Keep watching movies, and if you can get it, it's always nice to have diplomatic immunity.